So pizza on the East Coast, totally different than the Midwest, or I think anywhere else, especially my neck of the woods with the trays, the square pizza. It's just different.
I like Rocky Road Cocos, so I'm a fan.
I feel you. And what's similar to is Rocky's is a sweet sauce, and I think a lot of we call it red pizza because there's different varieties out east. That red sauce is sweeter. There's differences with the cheese blends, but the crust, it's just. I'm excited for you to try it someday.
I am too. I'm not excited about you telling me it's either cheese or pepperoni. Like, I'm sorry, I'm a sausage guy.
I know, and like I said, it's place by place, and we'll look into it soon enough. So, all right. Well, folks, welcome back to another episode of 217 South Mills.
We are brought to you by Cabin Coffee, Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin, and also Pizza Del Rey. So we're talking about pizza, and now we're talking about pizza. I love
Forget
pizza.
about it.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
We're doing a little current events here, and want to start it off with the Olympics and doping. It was an article I read, and it was how should the Olympics handle doping moving forward, blood doping. So to me, that covers like two. It covers two different things for me. For me, one is like a steroid or any type of steroid. Two is more like what, and don't quote me on this, more like what Lance Armstrong was doing, I believe, and a lot of Olympians do, is they're exchanging their blood. They're like I think they're adding oxygen to their blood, something like that, for healing properties, for recovery. My thing is, when it comes to the Olympics, and this is just me making a statement, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I go back to baseball prior to after the home runs, and once the whole steroid thing came out, during those home runs, during our youth, during the 80s and 90s, steroids were not on the illegal substance list for baseball.
Were they not on the list, or were they just not tested for it?
They weren't tested for it, and whatever's on the list is what they test for.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying in the general public steroids were illegal, but at the same time, too, in the general public, prescriptions are illegal if you're not prescribed by a doctor.
Sure.
And there's a lot of doctors that prescribe steroids. So, because even during my time in the NFL, there were doctors that accidentally gave somebody a cream to rub on their elbow after they had like the equivalent of like a Tommy John surgery in football. And the player didn't realize it. The doctor didn't realize it should say something. That guy tested positive for steroids, and it started a whole shit show just because he put a cream on his elbow to help his surgery recover. So back to the doping and steroid use and doping in the Olympics, my easy answer is just stop it. Not stop testing. Not stop doing it. Just stop testing for it. There's always going to be people cheating. And I understand you want the true sport, you want the true athlete. You're not going to get it across the board. Someone is always cheating. So why not just stop testing for it? And the people that are going to use. The people that aren't. Because I know this from football, and I'm pretty darn sure every other sport's the same. Once they start testing for something, there's already one or two things in the future of that product that everyone's using. So even if you're testing for A, B, C, D, and E, somebody else is using two products that just came out that aren't even on the illegal banned substance. Right. So they are still cheating, even though they tested clean for everything you tested for. So my take on it is just give up testing. Just let's keep doing the sports. Let's let the people keep enjoying it, but just stop the testing, because what I just said, I'm going to repeat it. You could test clean based off of the list, but you could still be on a substance enhancing product that's going to help you perform better.
So you just think that all athletes can just go on steroids and just be a complete just monster?
Well, I think with the Olympics, I think just stop testing for stuff. And now maybe I'm crossing the line when they say doping, and maybe I'm bringing steroids into it. Maybe doping is only with the blood. Right. But if it is, especially if it's only with the blood, I'd say just stop it altogether, because you can't keep the testing committees cannot keep up speed with the drug manufacturing companies. They're coming out with 10 products that you don't even know about while you're testing for everything that most people are done using. And I experienced that in the NFL. And the perfect example is ephedrine.
Yep. And we both took ephedrine.
We took ephedrine all through college.
Because it wasn't illegal, and we could buy it at the gas station. And there was
a benefit from us. Now, to any high schoolers, don't take ephedrine. There are a ton of horrible bad things that can happen.
We don't know the guy, but Corey Stringer.
Yeah, and that was my point. That was my rookie year in the NFL. Corey Stringer dies in training camp. And the root cause, I think it was heat exhaustion or whatever, the root cause of it was he was taking ephedrine.
Right.
So right away during camp, they go, ephedrine's going to be banned. The next day, next week in the locker room, everyone's still taking ephedrine. I'm like, I go up to our player rep and I go, what's the deal? I thought it's banned. He goes, no. It won't be banned until next year. They can't just ban it right away. So everybody Corey Stringer died in, let's say, July. And that season went August, September, October, November, December. Super Bowl was probably in January. Everybody took ephedrine that whole time. And then it didn't get banned until like March 30th of the next year. So that's my point is, and then when it did get banned, there's another substance that everyone's going to take next year because ephedrine's on the list.
Gotcha.
So now once ephedrine's on the list, now if you take a Sudafed because you got a cold, you got to notify your team, hey, basically the term is you're going to piss hot because I'm taking a cold medicine. And if you don't notify them, then it is considered a positive test.
So your stance is no matter what they ban, there's
always going to be something.
New products coming out.
And I'm not saying you can't. Now, football's different because steroids are included on that list.
Right.
But football, I don't think could stop it. I think you have to test because steroids are always going to be tested for. You don't want guys on street drugs. That's another big test in the NFL. Like we don't want the 70s and 80s where guys are doing coke and horrible stuff. Weed is pretty much gone out the window. I mean, they basically don't test for weed in
really?
the NFL. For the most part, what I've heard is 1 week in training camp, they pick 10 random players to test. 10 guys, and that's it, all season long. Well, me and you both know we've been around testing before. They're picking 10 guys that don't do weed. And then nobody tests positive on the team for weed. Boom, you go the rest of the season. Whoever wants it. I mean, half the states it's legalized anyways, and we don't have to get into that today, but it's legal in most of the states these guys play in. So whatever, that's their choice. But
I'm laughing to myself right now because I'm picturing the procedure of our piss test in college. Like,
go ahead, let them know it.
Yeah. So got randomly selected more than once, and I wasn't a drug guy. I was trying to be a cop, so never really dabbled in anything that was illegal. And like got picked for it, and it's kind of a process. Like
especially the NCAA.
Yes.
When because just so everybody knows, in college, the school tests randomly, but then the NCAA comes in and tests.
Yes.
And the schools, and there's slightly different tests. And I'll just say the school test, and you could describe the NCAA if you want, or vice versa. But the school test, it's a little bit more laid back. They're choosing who they want to choose. And you basically go in the bathroom and you face the toilet, and the person's behind you, and you fill a cup with urine.
Correct.
And that's your sample.
Yep. And the NCAA is a guy comes and is kneeling about 8 inches from
your junk,
and is actually watching the urine stream go into the cup, like so close that I can feel his breath.
Yes.
Like,
and the other thing, too,
eye level with my junk.
I still remember this is the way your clothes had to be. You couldn't you're not unzipping your flyer, just pulling it out. Nipples to knees. Your shirt had to be up to your nipples, and your pants had to be at least down to your knees, so that whole span of your body's exposed. And he's, especially because I think it was right after us is when all those devices and stuff, which is crazy.
The Wizinator,
how that came out. Like, man, oh man, you're really pushing and stretching it to the bad choice of words, but you're really, I don't even know what word to use. You're really taking a leap if you're using one of those.
Yeah. I just remember after like the third or fourth one, I would just walk in there and I just drop my shorts all the way to the ground like I'm a toddler learning to use the bathroom for the first time. I pull my shirt up. I'm like, this is it. And at what point in time, how do you sign up for that freaking job? Who's the guy that sits there and is like, hey, what are you? I'm a urine
analysis tester.
Observer?
Yeah.
So what do you do?
I always felt bad.
I just sit there and stare at guys' junk all day, about 6 inches from their stuff, and then breathe warm air on it while he's.
And it's not like an official. Like I've heard half these officials, like the ones in college, even the pros. Some of them are like lawyers, and officiating is like their side gig.
Yeah,
some of them are like lawyers during the week, and they're like, "Oh yeah, but I'm an NFL official as well," or they have they're whatever in a company, blah blah. But yeah, the guy doing that, it's crazy. The other crazy thing is that we normalized it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we just got to the age where it's like, all right, whatever, do what you got to do. Like we already talked about way back in our, I think episode 4, the seminary episode, having similar aged girls in college that were still in undergrad testing us during the physical. Like, that was awkward because, like, I was 17, you were 18, and we got like a 19-year-old like feeling our balls basically to make sure everything's okay. But then by the time you get to college with the piss test, it was what it was. Similar to, I was telling a story the other day, and there was a group that were like, tell me something I don't know about the NFL. And I'm like thinking, I'm like, oh, here's something simple you probably don't know. I go, there's women as well as men, reporters allowed in the locker room after an NFL game. And they're like, well, after you get changed, right? I'm like, nope. Go as soon as the game ends. I think 15 minutes after the clock hits 0, they're allowed to come in the locker room. So you're walking to the shower, you're walking back from the shower, you're drying off. And it is probably more heavily male than female. But if there's, say, 50 reporters in the locker room, I'd say at least 20 of them are women. So you got all these women walking around, and you just get to the point where you're like, you know what? 99% of them don't care. So why should I care? Otherwise you're going to be acting scared in your own locker room. Like, you're home. Right. You just got to be like, whatever. It's just part of the kid.
And I think even now, like, I go in for surgeries, it seems like on the regular. And at this point in time, they're always like, do you want to count in the front? I'm like, I honestly could give two shits less. I don't care. Like, I've been poked and prodded and examined so many times in my life. What do you want to just here? This is it. Ta-da!
my last procedure, I had to roll on my side, and they go, well, don't do it yet because your gown's going to open. I'm like, listen, I'm sure you've seen everything I got. I don't care if you don't care. If you don't want it, and they're like, all right, whatever you need to do.
Yeah,
all right. So the other topic we saw, now we're going to get in a couple of heated topics and then talk about some fun we got coming up in the next, over the next week. So the first topic that, boy, it really drives me nuts is it was a question asked, I don't know if it was on ESPN or some sports website. How do we get more black coaches in pro sports? That's a tough one for me. It's like, we're not, and this isn't just football or sports. This to me is in general. Like, why in 2024 are we even still talking race? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't care. Like, you own a business. Yep. Are you looking at it being like, I need a purple, a green, a blue, or are you saying I need the best employee?
I want the best employee that shows up and does the job.
And if I'm an owner of an NFL team, now maybe you could argue we want more diversity in ownership, but at the same time too, that person owns it. Like, we're not in a socialist society where you're stealing property from people. So, okay, when he puts it up for sale, if you really want diversity, have a different race person step up and be like, I'll be the next billionaire to change the race of the ownership. But coaches, to me, that's the last freaking thing that should be on anybody's mind. And here's the color of the coach. I want the best coach that's going to give me the best opportunity for me and my team to win the last game at the end of the season. Whether it's a Super Bowl, a championship, whatever, that's all I want. And the best comparison I have to this, and this is how much it frustrates me, and I'm not claiming I should know the guy's name to be able to cite him, but it was a comedian that said, because I believe Delta started doing this diversity thing with pilots of all people, not baggage handlers, not the people checking your ticket, not TSA, but the pilots. They're trying to get more diversified. So here's my question. Do you want diversity flying the plane? Or do you want the best pilot possible flying the plane?
I think it's a hands down the best pilot.
You want the best pilot.
I want the best person
why?
I don't care if you're male or female.
Yeah, exactly.
And let me ask you this. When you committed to Wisconsin and Coach Jim Huber was our offensive line coach, I think at the time he had 26 guys who were in the NFL that he coached.
Yeah.
If he was baby shit golden color or purple, I don't care.
Exactly.
What I was going after, the knowledge I needed and the skills for my craft for me to go to the next level. Yep. That was the only thing that I based my decision off of.
Yeah.
That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Not looks, not color. No. And it's a shame. And I really feel like, and I am a conspiracy theorist, I'll say to the crowd, big time, but I really feel like people can't stop talking about it because they want people to keep arguing about it. To me, it's like, whether we're talking sports or an airline pilot, the color of somebody's skin should never be a part of the conversation.
I agree.
I mean, that's what we should be teaching kids. Doesn't matter what race you are, doesn't matter what background you came from. You can be whatever you want to be if you put the work in. Mm-hmm. But if you don't, you're not. Like, that's just bottom line. No one's giving you favors. No one's giving you handouts, nor should they.
or should they make exceptions for your shortcomings? Honestly,
Yeah.
that's literally what it comes down to.
Yeah. It's like think about us with clothing companies. It's not like clothing companies are like, oh, there's a lot of husky boys out there. Maybe we should make clothes that fit them. No, we had to go to Kmart and Walmart and buy the big husky jeans because I was big boned, Joe.
Yeah, and then I told my mom, I said, because she dropped that on me, that you're just big boned, you're not fat, and I'm going,
big boned did it.
Big boned did it, and I'm like, I don't think bones jiggle.
True. But nobody, I don't know. I think it's just a stupid thing we're doing in the world today. And I think just people need to put their head down, work hard. And I think businesses need to knock this shit off and just hire the best that's out there. And like you said, whether it's man, woman, whatever freaking color of the spectrum they are, I think female and male should not matter. And the race should not matter at all.
Agreed.
Do every other criteria. Where did you go to school? What are your grades? What are your background? What's your experience? How good are you? If you're the best and all the other boxes check, I don't give a shit about the other stuff.
Agreed.
So that's that with pro sports. Hire the best. Here's the thing, too. We do it with the product on the field.
Yep.
You know, there's no equality or diversity on the football field, on the NBA basketball field, on the MLB baseball field. It's the best.
Correct.
You know, baseball, if you're from South America and you're the best, you're playing. Basketball, football, it's predominantly black.
Right.
I mean, nobody, and that's another comedian joke. Nobody's arguing to get more white people in the NBA. They want the best people on the court at all times. So do I.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, no one's crying that. You know, it's not like I can understand. Here's the only other comparison I'll make. So the Canadian Football League, this is something a lot of people don't know. On the Canadian Football League, if you play in Canada, and Costa could even touch on this, so many people on offense and defense have to be Canadian. So you can't fill a Canadian team with 11 offensive American players and 11 defensive American. That's illegal. So usually on the O-line, I think like only 2 or 3 out of the 5 O-linemen are American. And like certain positions are all like some of the usually the defensive backs are all Canadian or whatever. Like they do that math to break it up. Now that's different because there's a rule in that league that says, but everything else, it's put the best players out there.
And I agree because if you're trying to fill it with somebody because of their heritage.
Yeah.
Let's say your left tackle sucks and he's from Canada, eh?
Yeah.
And your quarterback's getting killed.
Yeah.
And you got a guy, that's much better, but you're trying to there's so many things in sports to worry about. That is the last freaking thing that you should worry about.
And I laugh, and not to harp on this. This is what frustrates me is people like me and you, we were never given anything in our life. We worked and earned everything we were given. And now it's just like preached, like this should be given to you and this should be more balanced. And no, just like here's the best quote I ever heard that my mom said to me when I was a kid: shut up and work harder.
Yep.
That's all we should tell them people.
Yep.
You're complaining, shut up and work harder.
Yep.
You're not getting the job you want, shut up and change your degree. Yep. Do a degree you're going to get paid for. Like it's I don't understand how it's so simple. Maybe we're just getting old and think we're getting wiser.
No, we're not. We're just getting older. That's it. So we have a brand new drink. First time that we're launching it here is in May. It's called the Lavender Buzz.
Lavender Buzz.
And Lavender Buzz. It features our white coffee, lavender syrup, and topped with honey. So people ask me, what is white coffee? Here's what it is. I promise you it's 100% coffee, and it is not treated with chemicals. It is not bleached. It is all natural. It doesn't have that really deep roasted flavor. Some people love coffee. Some people hate it because of the way it tastes. If you like caffeine and you want an actually healthier source of caffeine other than, Red Bull or any of the other drinks that aren't great for you, and I can't rip on them because I also drank them when I was in law enforcement to stay awake. So, but this has that more of a smoother, nuttier flavor. It's got more caffeine content. And so you get a buzz from the caffeine or the buzz from the honey. Like that?
I like that.
Little twofold. There you go.
And I'm telling you, when you start off with that lavender buzz, I want like a bass jazz guitarist behind you playing in the background.
The lavender buzz.
All right. So the other touchy topic.
Yeah, wow. I'm not sure if you're trying to piss off all of our fans today, Bill, but I'm looking at your list here, and here we go.
All right. So it's and this isn't my questions. This is what I took it off this week. What popular things were in sports? What's behind the gender pay gap in sports? The gender pay gap. We won't even get into that in society.
Deep exhale.
Yeah, we won't get into that. But there's many videos and articles that explain the lack of pay gap in society, but gender pay gap in sports. Between women's sports and men's sports, it is a fact. People, especially women, do not watch women's sports. Women don't go to NBA basketball games, WNBA basketball games. Women don't go to softball games. Women don't go to those sports. The women that like sports, majority, like men's sports. Mm-hmm. And men don't care for women's sports. They like men. And it's because it's faster, more powerful, all that stuff. That's the pay gap. The women aren't putting butts in the seats. They're not selling jerseys. They're not selling tickets. Now, some of them put out a really good product. And I think what's dramatically going to change is somebody we became a huge fan of, Caitlyi Clark. Yep. I think she's blowing the women's sports out of the water and setting a standard that if we play better and something, like not that there's not good women athletes out there, but something about her, maybe it was the timing, obviously the deep threes, the record she got, stuff like that. And just, I think that camaraderie with that friends group out of those starting five, it was just like the stars aligned with them, and it just, everything became something special, and it became a nationwide story. I mean, and I really think she has the power to change at least the WNBA. Maybe not, it's not going to do a 180, but she's got the ability to help that sport. And the other thing too that pissed me off, not hating on women, but pissed me off with the WNBA draft, was all these veterans in the league that are really good WNBA players are bashing her the whole week of the draft. Yep. And I'm like, you should be welcoming her with open arms.
Because then maybe you'll get more viewers and more butts in the seat. More viewers,
more money.
Maybe
more
you'll
merchandise. Get the next shoe deal.
Absolutely.
Maybe you'll get the next sponsor. Like, this girl's coming out of college. She's a State Farm commercial. Right. She has a shoe deal. That. Maybe you'll be the next because she proved it. She proved she could play. Now she's got more people watching you, and it's going to help you. Like, I did not understand. It's almost like women get mad. Like this question comes up. Why aren't women making as much as men in sports? But then women are getting mad when a woman's getting paid.
Yeah.
I'm like, you should be praising her and being like, how did you do this? Who'd you talk to? Can you help me? Like, that's what I do. Like, I am old. We're post the social media era in college, and even post, I didn't have social media when I was in the NFL either, and then got to become friends with some younger guys like Jared Abadaris, Jeff Janis with the Packers. Those two are really tight friends, and those two, they blow up when it comes to doing deals with companies, merchandise, this, that. And I just said to them, I was like, what do you guys do? Like, how do you do it? I learned from them, and I looked at it like, okay, I'm on a different level than them, lower level than them, just to be clear. I go, but I could offer different things that they weren't able to offer as an active player and learn from it. It wasn't like I was bashing them like, oh, screw them because I did. It's almost like us bashing NIL. Like, yeah, we joke we should get retribution from NIL, but you know what? It wasn't around during our time. Like, I'm happy for these kids that they're getting it. And yeah.
And I don't think it's we're not saying that they don't practice as hard. I'm not saying that they're not as dedicated to their sport.
Not at all.
I'm not saying any of that stuff because they work just as hard, if not harder. But it's a popularity contest.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. And I think you hit it. If you can't sell tickets and you're not selling merchandise and you don't have the viewer fan base, you can't complain because this is it.
Yeah.
I can't be pissed off at some of the other big coffee franchises that have millions and millions of dollars to advertise, and it's not fair because I don't have that marketing budget for my coffee shop.
Even if their coffee sucks.
Even when their coffee sucks. No, not if. Even when their coffee sucks. Like, but so should I throw a pissy fit because how dare they have more money than me and they have the brand recognition and obviously something I'm trying to work for, but that's freaking life, man.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I really think ESPN's getting behind Caitlyi Clark because they know to hook their wagon to her train. And I think too, watching, I think I watched more, maybe not games, but highlights of women's basketball this past season than I saw any
than I ever have in my life.
Yeah, but even compared to men's.
Yeah.
I don't think I watched any men's. If there was a woman's highlight, I'm like, oh, what did they do? What did they do?
Absolutely.
And there was a bunch of girls. Half of them got drafted this year. Angel Reese, that really tall white girl from Stanford. But then there's another half of them that are still in college. Mm-hmm. So, the next year or two, that Paige girl from UConn, the girl that blonde girl transferred out of LSU. The next couple of years, they got good stock going into the WNBA. They just got to do it right. I mean, and I think the complaining has to stop. No matter who even with football, when guys complain, there were times during collective bargaining agreements where players are complaining about not getting enough. Well, you know what? In the NFL, they screwed it up years ago when they had an opportunity the opportunity was to get benefits on the back end or no benefits but higher pay. And the players chose the benefits and the NFL pushed it. They wanted the players to take the benefits. But then you can't take the deal and then complain afterward. Oh, we deserve to get more. Like, yeah, you're always going to say that in the back of your head, but you can't say that in public. And that's the way I think it is with the WNBA. Just make the right choices, hook your wagon on these girls, and hopefully everybody gets better and everybody grows.
And they all get more money.
Exactly. Simple. Everybody wins.
Because that's what it comes down to. It's the pay gap.
Yes.
So, all right. And we got some big news coming up now. As you're listening to this, Bill and I should be in Scranton.
We are, as you listen to this, we are in Scranton right now as you're listening to this. So anybody from the East Coast, drop a comment on any social media on where I should be taking Joe. I got a couple pizza places I got to take him to, some of our old favorites from out east. We're hoping Laura Tylenol, my sister, she's been talking some smoke, saying she wants to be on a podcast.
Yeah.
So we're going to have our equipment. We're going to see if she's going to take the challenge and come on the podcast, talk about some of her visits to Wisconsin, talk about some of the away games, the Rose Bowl that she was at, some of her experiences. And the other thing, as you're listening to this podcast, just a couple days ago, we made our trip out prior to coming to Scranton out to Pittsburgh to visit with another former teammate, offensive lineman, and friend of ours, Dave Costa. And we don't know for sure right now, but we're hoping we have a exciting venue that you're going to be seeing where the podcast is taking place. And also, we got to get Joe. I wanted to look up the name of the sandwich before we went on the air, but I forgot. It's the Pittsburgh sandwich that became famous with putting everything on the sandwich, the French fries, coleslaw, like all that stuff, all stacked on. Pittsburgh invented it. They showed it on TV years ago during a Pirates game, and then it sort of took the nation by storm. Sure. So whatever, either Dave and I, or I'll take you there at some point when we're in Pittsburgh. But yeah, so right now we're in Scranton, so don't come try and find us because we're going to be hiding from everybody. But let us know, drop a comment where we should go and where I should take Joe for pizza. Yep. So Joe's a big deal with the pizza. I was trying to explain. On the East Coast, one, we have trays. I was explaining that to him. And then two, I know Joe is a big sausage fan. And I don't mind that in Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, probably the number one pizza most people choose is a Supreme, which I know you're not going in a pizza place in Scranton or the East Coast asking for a Supreme. They don't.
Can I ask for pineapple?
They'll kick you off.
And then tell them I know you, that I'm here with you.
They will kick you. I'll kick you out, then they'll kick you out. But I said to Joe, I'm like, I don't even know if some places do sausage because my whole time growing up, it was plain, or it was pepperoni, or it was mozzarella on the pizza, or it was a white pizza like down in Old Forge.
Okay.
So
well, I mean,
we could maybe try. I told him maybe we'll ask for, could we do sausage on half the pizza, and hopefully we don't get yelled at. I'll like slide a 20 when I ask the question. Like, please, no disrespect, but my friend here,
I'm going to walk in there like you walk over here. Just.
Don't walk around there. There's some places
I'm going to walk in there like, yeah, I'm from Wisconsin, and this is what we do here. You
got to understand the one place, and maybe I'll put it in the comments. The one place that I plan on taking you to, there was an alleged mob hit there.
Okay.
Guy disappeared for like 4 years. All they found was his tooth and some blood in the sink, and then they found him a couple years later. He was buried in some site that they did construction, whatever. But they said, the mob some money, and he disappeared.
Interesting.
A couple newspaper articles on it too. So yeah, there's certain places we got to watch our mouth, or you need to watch your mouth. I'll be like, hey, he's a Pollock. Don't worry, please.
We're gonna.
I'm gonna be saying no disrespect a lot. No disrespect. Okay. But I already got the hoagie shop I'm taking him to, and it's. I don't think it's the one you're thinking, but I'm gonna be there. If the guy's listening, he knows the one it is.
Okay.
But then the pizza place that we're gonna try and hit at least 3. I got 3 in mind, maybe 4. And got to get you a cheesesteak while we're out east too.
Of course, and then afterwards we will sit down and we will discuss the pizza. And
we might even do the pizza on the show. Yeah,
I'd be fine with
we got to talk to little Tylenol and see if
you can explain to her why I call her Tylenol.
So my sister's last name is Talinda, but when Joe first saw it, he's like, "What's her last name? Tylenol."
And she gives me a headache. So there you go.
The funniest thing too is one of my buddies, Sean Cook, if you're watching and listening, my buddy Cooker, he went into insurance, and I gave him my sister's number. I'm like, well, Laura's out there. Why don't you go talk to her and her husband? And when he got her email address, it was still like L Ferrari or whatever. And he looks at her and he goes, "Did you have your husband take your last name?" My buddy thought their last name was still Ferrario after they're married. So Laura was cracking up. But yeah, so now we call her Laura Tylenol because of that. So
that's just her name, or we just call her Tylenol. Yeah. And I think it's fitting for her. Yeah. And she busts my balls all the time. So for me to do it on the podcast, especially,
I feel it. And we'll see if she has the storm on.
She talks a big game, just like somebody else I know in that family.
Who else talks a big game?
Oh. No.
What are you talking about my mom?
No.
Don't disrespect my mom like
I'm talking
that.
about you dumb dago. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
you called me a Pollock. You called me a Pollock earlier.
Yeah, but Pollock's not as bad as Dago.
How do you think? Hey,
Dago's a lot.
We have Dago beef here.
No, don't. Jeez, Louise.
My mom would make a fabulous Dago hot Dago beef. I'm just saying.
No disrespect, people. We might have to they're listening to it out Easter. Like, did they ever come? No. We might have to cancel the trip. Too many threats to Joseph here. So.
That's all right. I can hold my own. I got this.
I hear you, but all right.
That wraps up this episode of 217 South Mills, brought to you by Cabin Coffee Altoona and Pizza Del Rey. And we're not going to let Pizza Del Rey. They're always going to be number one in our hearts.
Absolutely.
Number one in my hearts. Number one on the show.
We're just talking about an experience. It's like anything else. I mean, hey, Cabin Coffee is my favorite coffee, but I don't know if I go to Italy and have an espresso, I might like the espresso. But Cabin Coffee.
How dare you?
I'm just saying I might like it. I didn't say it's my favorite.
I might. Whoa. How dare you?
Well, see. Now you're jumping the gun.
Well,
I just said
hanging around you.
I may enjoy it.
You may enjoy
but Cabin Coffee is still my favorite.
Just want to make sure.
So my thing with Pizza Del Rey, we love Pizza Del Rey. Right. I love Pizza Del Rey. You love Pizza Del Rey. They have a freaking breakfast buffet. If you time it right, you can have breakfast and pizza all in the same
sit there all day. Absolutely.
Now I don't know if he's going to come out and try and double charge us.
No,
not us, but somebody else. You might have to pay twice if you sit through both. But my point is, we're hoping that Joe enjoys the pizza out east.
And I feel like I will, because you've talked enough about it. And I don't doubt heavy, husky people's opinion on food, because let's face it, they know where all the good food is. So, all right. Thanks a lot, folks. We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you for listening to Joe and I today. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. If you like what you heard, please give 217 South Mills a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Go tell your friends about us. Like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube.
I'd like to thank Cabin Coffee Altoona for sponsoring us. Everything is always better at the cabin. See you next time. And remember, folks, Red has to run.